Spring practice continues for Tennessee football, and William Eames, the linebackers coach, spoke to the media on Wednesday. And as you guys know, Keenan Peely had back-to-back season-ending injuries for Tennessee in 2023 and 2024, which really hurt them at the middle linebacker spot. However, that did lead to the development of Jeremiah Telander down the stretch. Arion Carter started last year for the first time, showed a lot of promise, showed he was still raw his second year in the system, should get better this year, but is one of the most athletic people on the team. Before last year, Tennessee had issues at linebacker under Josh Heupel. This was an underrated position in which they struggled because of the departures. Aaron Beasley was not athletic enough to play linebacker in the SEC. Jeremy Banks was not smart enough to handle coverage duties as a linebacker. The combination of the two made for a disastrous first 2 years. And then in 2023, Keenan Peely, who was supposed to be a huge boost, goes down the first game of the year. And so they have to run Elijah Herring at linebacker. And it just didn't work because Elijah Herring, as he was a smart player and he played hard, but he just had limited athleticism. And then Aaron Beasley was still out there. So last year there was an upgrade at linebacker for a while. But again, raw with Arion Carter, Keenan Peely coming back from injury. Keenan Peely then gets hurt. Arion Carter and Jeremiah Telander finish the year as the two starting linebackers. They're now back this year as the two starting linebackers in Tennessee. Telander at the middle linebacker, Arion Carter is the outside linebacker. Will linebackers finally be a strength for Tennessee? William Eames talked about the most important thing for them is to get them on the field. He says that, quote, as far as Carter and Telander go, we're really putting them in, as we will call, putting them in heat under pressure and allowing them to thrive under pressure and being able to coach them up, because mistakes that are made, we've got to coach them and make sure that we get them better. He also insisted that they're not shorthanded, that the approach in the room is to, quote, attack, and that's going to be the standard. Look, one of the knocks we had on Tim Banks last year was Tennessee did not dial up enough blitz packages. Now, that wasn't a problem because the defensive line was so elite and so loaded. But I think one of the reasons he also didn't dial up a lot of blitz packages and complex schemes is because of the fact that for at least half the season, when they would have needed it, the only two games they would have needed it would have been Georgia and Ohio State. Arion Carter was still raw, and Telander was still learning things. When the minute you dial up blitz packages, you make it hard for those guys to get back in coverage, to understand coverages. You make it harder for them to stay in their right spots in coverage plays. So I think he just focused on coverage, hoping the defensive line would do its job. Defensive tackles, they lost a couple of guys from last year, so it won't be as deep this year, particularly with James Pierce gone. And more notably, Arion Carter and Jeremiah Telander are more familiar with the system. So I think this year you might see more of a, as William Eames says, a vertical attack from Tim Banks' defensive calls, like you saw 2 years ago, if and when it's needed. And it might be needed early because they're playing Georgia week 3, and actually Syracuse won't be the easiest game in week 1. So that's kind of interesting. The other thing that really stood out for me was he brought up Edwin Spillman, who they were asked if he could play both linebacker positions, and Eames said that everyone is responsible to know both positions, so we call them dual-purpose linebackers, and that he's somebody who's able to do both of them. So now they have depth with Edwin Spillman. And Brendan Ains is a freshman who's actually starting to stand out too, along with Jaden Perlow and Jaden Harmon. And he's insisting, like I said, they're not shorthanded. And then there's redshirt freshman Jordan Burns. Now, William Eames said this is a what the H moment, but he said at one point, when you see some flashes, you would think you're looking at like an Al Wilson with Jordan Burns, who plays extremely fast, extremely aggressive, and extremely physical. Now, nobody should get an Al Wilson comparison at linebacker for Tennessee. That's not allowed. That shouldn't be allowed. But that doesn't mean the linebackers aren't a reason to get excited this year. So I'm going to say it now. Bank on it. Brought to you by Commercial Bank, member FDIC, Life Made Better, CBTN.com. Bank on it. Linebackers, for the first time, will be a strength for Tennessee football this year. Bank on it.
Commercial Bank is your neighborhood bank. What makes us different from other banks? We understand that every customer has unique opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. We don't expect you to fit into the same box as the next person or business. Whether it's purchasing a home, saving for your child's future, or planning for your next vacation, we're with you every step of the way to navigate life's big decisions. Commercial Bank. Life.
All right, so the poll question is up. Will linebackers finally be a strength for Tennessee football in 2025? Yes, no, they already were a strength. Vote on that now, please. I'm going to say yes. Linebackers will be a strength for Tennessee football in 2025. They will be a major advantage, okay? Tennessee they finally have both starters returning from the previous year. That's a huge advantage. You hate what happened with Keenan Peely. If he was in there, Tennessee may have actually had a chance to go further in the playoffs. So for last year, that was a problem. But getting Telander out there did help them for this year. Telander does seem more ready to go, and he showed promise down the stretch. Arion Carter, with the full year of having started, should be incredible. Now, Derek has a good point. Arion Carter just got caught trailing tight ends with his head not turned too many times. That's true. And that's why I think Tim Banks didn't dial up too many blitzes, is because a lot of blitz packages, it's incumbent on the linebacker to know if they need to attack or if they need to drop in coverage. And Arion Carter didn't seem like he was ready to figure that out. And Derek has a great point. Telander had a game against Bama, never got much credit, honestly. I agree, Derek, but remember this. Part of that was scheming. It got very easy to have a good game against Alabama because of the pressure around the edges and the high cover two that Tim Banks played in that game. He basically put out the playbook for how you shut down Jalen Milroe. And I mean, so it got easier on the linebackers to handle that game. But that was his first start, so I'm not denying that he deserves a lot of credit for how he played that game. You are right about that, but I'm just saying that was a big thing. If Tennessee stays fully healthy at linebacker with Carter and Telander, they could be very, very, very good this year. I think it will be a strength for them. I think it'll be a strength for them the first time. For the first time. I don't think it's been a strength for them to this point because they've either dealt with injuries or inexperience or lack of athleticism, or in some cases, all three. Okay. So I think that they haven't been able to get a collection of linebackers that are fully healthy, experienced to the level that they need to be experienced at, and athletic at the level they need to be athletic at. They finally have that this year, guys. I'm telling you, they finally have that, assuming everybody stays healthy. And even if they don't, if Edwin Spillman is ready to step in, then I think that Edwin Spillman, that could be solid. And then I'd have to eat crow because y'all know my thoughts on Edwin Spillman and what I said about him coming out of high school. I pointed out that Lipscomb Academy tends to produce overrated talent. But I could be wrong. And also, maybe William Ainge and Tim Banks are better coaches to develop Spillman than a lot of other kids who come out of there. So that's all I'm just saying. So we'll see how that goes. So will linebackers finally be a strength for Tennessee football in 2025? 60% say yes, 20% say no, 20% they already were a strength.